Well, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Vodcast Network. I'm here, the host of the Hump Day Hotline. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired with a new addition to Buffalo Rumblings. The one, the only, Stirls for the girls at Furrowh Sterling. Sterling Furrowh. How are you, sir?
Yo, Joe. I'm happy to be here, man. Long time coming, right? It feels good.
I know you did a little bit of this is what's up. So why don't we start the top of the show of what the hell are you doing here? Let's start with that. Like, how did we get? Because you and I used to be on Fanatics. Actually, the first time you and I interacted ever was on this show. The first time that Jay Spence the King couldn't make it, and there was just a connection. And then you bailed from Fanatics, and then I bailed from Fanatics, but we went different ways, right? And now we've circled around. So how did we get here?
All right, man. Things happen for a reason, you know. Sometimes it's just time to go. Different opportunities, present themselves, and people change and things change. And I first of all, man, I love all the guys over at Cover One.
Yeah,
they're great people. Fanatics the same way. But for me and in my career and things that I want to do, I felt like Rumblings is the place for me.
Good.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just happy to be here, man. I'm happy to, kind of branch out on my own and start my own show called Intentional Grounding.
I was going to say, you got to give us details.
Yeah. So Intentional Grounding is a show I'm going to be doing. It's gonna pop off on Sundays, off season, and it's going to be there during the season as a pregame show as well. So
nice. We need that.
Right, and it's just going to be me, talking about the upcoming matchups and therefore, and I'm going to bring my personality and humor and all that stuff will be there. But my guys are still over at Cover One, and just so everybody knows, those are like some of my best friends ever, and we're all good. But I just felt like, for me as an individual, it's like being in a band. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes the lead singer's got to go. Like I got to do my solo project, and solo project is Rumbling. So those are still my guys, man. It's all good.
That's awesome. Well, it's great to have you. I'm excited about the addition of talent to Buffalo Rumblings. I'm excited to collab with you. I'm excited to do stuff with you, whether it's have you on my show or me be on your show or do a special show or pregame shows or postgame shows or special shows or whatever it is. I'm excited that you are here. Just so everybody knows, like I said, Stirls and I go way back. Me, Stirls, and Jay Spence the King go way back. And there was just an awesome, wonderful connection between even the three of us from the very beginning. So I'm glad that you're here. So from the bottom of my heart, welcome.
Yeah, it's like the Holy Trinity, but not in a sacrilegious way.
Wait, if I'm old, am I the father? Is that how this works?
Yes, and you're white. So, yeah, you're the father.
How did we get there?
Because I can.
Gotta edit that out. Wait, we're live. We can't edit that out. Anyways, getting back to the topic at hand. So, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, it's Hump Day, first of all. So, whatever platform you're on, please jump on that like button. Hump the like button, as we like to say here on Wednesday nights. We are going to be talking draft here on Draft Eve. Jay Spence the King is on assignment, and by on assignment, he is at the NFL draft. I think his plane lands in Vegas in 25 minutes. So he's going to be covering the NFL draft with credentials. So he is now not only verified on Twitter, but he is now at the NFL draft with credentials, and I believe he has a whole bunch of interviews lined up with a bunch of different prospects and just players that are going to be drafted, guys that are actually in Vegas, which is cool. We are Super Chat live. And we just got one from Mark Johnson, who basically just says, "Evening, fam." So Mark, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Good evening to you too, sir. But we're going to break down a little bit. I think what we talked about was an extension of what I talked about on Sunday. And just so everybody knows, and I kind of prefaced this show with, hey, if you've seen the 17 million mock drafts that are out there, because that's basically how many are on Twitter, 17 million. I mean, some people are doing more than one a day. It's like, how many different ways can this possibly go? Is it bingo? You get to go as many times as you can, and if you get it right, you win. I said, but if you've seen them all, but you haven't really paid attention to them, like me, but you want to know some names that are familiar, because what happened to me, and I think it happened to Jay Spence the King last year too, is the Bills were up to draft. They drafted Gregory Rousseau. We were all hoping for a corner, and we were all like, who is Gregory Rousseau? And that's kind of where the whole thing was left for a couple days until we heard his backstory. We heard him talk, got interviewed. So the premise of this show, what we're trying to accomplish is talk about some names that will be familiar to you tomorrow when the Bills pick. So when the Bills pick, if they pick at 25, some names that'll be there that you'll be like, oh, I remember that name. Sterling's talked about Andrew Booth Jr., right? Joe talked about, and his name just totally blanked out of my brain. Anyways, to that point, just to give you some familiarity so you're not completely in the dark. And also I want to talk to you about just potential trade scenarios. Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there that believe that the Bills are going to trade. So why don't we start there? What trade scenarios do you think are possible? Is there one? Is there more than one? Are there ideal ones? Is it not ideal to you? Does it look like a trade back? Where are you at on the whole trade piece with the Bills for tomorrow?
I don't think you're going to see a lot of trades in the first top 10 picks. Only team that I could see probably moving out of the top 10 will probably be the Seahawks, because I think one of their biggest needs is pass rush, quarterback, offensive line depth or talent, right? I don't think you're gonna. I mean, if Evan Neal or Charles Cross is there for those guys, I would expect them to pick there, but I just don't think they'll be there. I think they're going to be gone within the first 7 picks. So I could totally see the Seahawks moving out of number 9. And then if you go up the list, the team that's interesting to me is the Eagles. Okay, at 15 and 18, and they have a young starter and quarterback in Jalen Hurts. But I think why not kick the can for next year? This is a very much a kind of trial and error, kind of see what we have again. He made some strides last year, but I still think, the quarterbacks next year in that class, there's 3 or 4 guys that I could bring to name. I think they're probably better prospects than Jalen Hurts is right now. So I could totally see them. And then, you got the Houston Texans at 13. They need everything, and they don't have the capital. They need everything.
3 and 13. They got 3 and 13.
Yeah, so they have a young quarterback at Davis Mills. I think he's kind of in the same kind of category as Jalen Hurts in terms of we like what we see, but we need to see more before we place a lot of assets and resources to making, you being our franchise guy. So those are some things. And, and a team that I think that could trade down is the Patriots. I just think they're keen to doing stupid stuff.
Get out.
But again, if they're pick 21, I think they need wide receiver help. They took a swing on N'Keal Harry a few years back, and missed gloriously, right? And missed. So Belichick is one of those guys. You just never know what he's going to do during the draft. So those are the teams that I think that probably could to move back. And then the Cardinals at 23, I think that's another one because there's only for me personally, I only have 16 first-round grades in this draft. Wow. And so when you look at the value, you're going to see a lot of guys that obviously they're going to have to be drafted in the first round, but they're second-round talent. So I think you're going to see teams start to maybe cash in on that investment, right? Right. Maybe this is I think 20 and on is where you start to take a chance on some of these, and sometimes those 16 first round graded talents aren't always the first guys drafted, right? So a lot of teams based off of need and so forth. So I think you could see some flexibility, people moving in the 20s, but I don't expect a lot of trades being made tomorrow.
Very cool. Buffalo Archives now. I see your super chat. Hang on just a second because Sterl said something that I want to break down real quick because they talked about it on WGR this morning, which is basically that idea of you have 16 first-round grades out of the guys that are there. And Bean said, how many did he say he had? Did he say he had 20? How many did he say he had?
I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, he said he had a small number as well. And what that means is, and if I don't, and you can jump on after I say this, is basically 32 guys are going to get drafted in the first round. However, of guys that you would prefer to take in the first round, guys that are worthy of being drafted first, there's only 16. That's what you're saying, correct? In your mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously we're not going to break those guys down. If one of those guys falls to the Bills, who do you think that guy could be if one of them could fall?
David Ojabo.
Really?
Yeah. And here's the thing. And this is my own take, okay? And I've been kind of saying this for the past few months, but not just because he's a Michigan guy and I love my Wolverines, but just think about it. Brandon Beane places an emphasis on trench play, defensive line, offensive line, right? And he mentioned something early in the offseason saying that when the season was over, don't be surprised if we go back to the defensive line again, because the comment was made about, you took, Rousseau and Basham in rounds 1 and 2. Oh, just think about this for a minute. You take a guy in the first round, a defensive end like David Ojabo, who in a normal draft year, he's a top 10 pick, right? Mm-hmm. You have Von Miller. How much production are you going to get out of a Von Miller for the 3 seasons? I can guarantee you, without injury, he's going to give you at least 1.5 to 2, at least, right? He's on a 6-year deal, but essentially it's a 3-year, $52 million deal.
Right.
So you take a guy like Ojabo, and we know that he's not going to be able to play this year. Put him around a guy like Von Miller, and he's going to learn so much about the game, about how to prepare for the game, and so forth. I think it's a great investment piece, because now you got Rousseau and you got Ojabo, and we don't have to address this defensive end position for a while, right?
No, that makes sense. Real quick. So Buffalo Archives now coming with super chat. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Appreciate you. The only reason I don't think round 1 will be cornerback is how Beane and McDermott regime has historically been cautious about starting rookies. He'd be starting. So here's the thing to set that up. Right now, if the season started tomorrow, and let's just pretend that tomorrow is September, because it's still going to be true, the starting corners for this football team right now are Cam Lewis and Dane Jackson. Tre'Davious White is going to be injured. Who knows for how long? The position that he plays is not like a quarterback. So an ACL tear for a quarterback is not the same as an ACL tear for a corner or a running back or a wide receiver. We saw that with Saquon Barkley. So the problem is this is, in my opinion, and you can agree or disagree, the largest hole on this team, corner, right now, is because of Tre'Davious White's injury. And the issue with this super chat is the fact that the Bills have done this. They drafted in the very first year they were here, Tre'Davious White, I think at 27, right? They drafted Trey at 27, and he started year 1. So this is not outside the character necessarily of McDermott and Beane. It might not necessarily be what they want, but it's not outside their character. Thoughts?
I don't see them drafting cornerback round 1.
Really?
I don't see it. And I'll tell you why. One of McDermott's calling cards is it's like when you take an orange and you get all the juice out. No, like he's that with cornerbacks, defensive back play. And here's the deal. I think you have Stingley and you have Sauce Gardner.
Well, Gardner's not making out of 5, right? So
right. That's my point. Those are your top
9.
Those are your top corners that you go, okay, these guys are bona fide, first round talent and ability.
Right.
Those are your guys, right? So after that, like, I think you can go look in the mid to late rounds to get a guy like a Trent McDuffie that's gonna, his style of play, or if Andrew Booth, but the medicals don't check out, right? So I think, look for a Martin Emerson. I think in second, third round, I think a Martin Emerson would be a guy. Tariq Woolen, maybe second, third round, possibly. But I think that first round, you have to just think, if you're the Bills, you have to hit on that first round pick, but they don't have to contribute right now. Right. But you have to hit on that, because just think of all the contracts that you have. Josh Allen and Ed Oliver is going to command a big deal. And you got Von Miller on the roster. And I mean, the list goes on and on. So even though the biggest need is cornerback, I don't think that they're going to go cornerback in round 1.
So, man, to me, it's a huge hole. You're not,
it is.
Dude, if the Buffalo Bills start this season, listen, so before I even say this, let's preface this, because we all know that certain players watch these shows. They sit at home at night bored, rolling around on YouTube, and this stuff shows up. I see Cam Lewis 3 times a week at the gym. And I'm not friends with him, but he's at the gym where I work out. We say, what's up? Slap fives, whatever. I don't know Dane Jackson personally. I like both those players. I'm not saying that I don't like those players at all, and I don't like those guys. In fact, I was a huge proponent of playing Dane Jackson over Levi Wallace for 2 years. If the Buffalo Bills start Dane Jackson and Cam Lewis at corner, which I believe Cam Lewis is potentially a slot corner, or right? He's not even necessarily a boundary corner.
He could play some on the boundary, but that's not his ideal spot.
You don't enter the first two months of the season against the likes of all the guys that the Dolphins have brought in, right? Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Parker, who is a Bills nemesis, is now in New England. Granted, with Mac Jones, but you expect him to, progress a little bit. Whatever the Jets are doing, we took their best weapon in Jamison Crowder, but I'm sure they're going to reload somehow. I just don't know how you enter the first two. It's going to be at least 2 months, the first 2 months of the season before Trey's ready to play, and he's not going to be 100% when he goes back on the field. How do you? What are they? Are you touching that? Are you solving that problem with free agency, or are you thinking Joe Hayden, AJ Bouye? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, I think a veteran free agent. I think they're going to have to sign a veteran free agent cornerback. I mean,
I
we
think
saw
they may
Von
have
Miller.
to regardless. I think
they're going to have to regardless. So they're
Yeah.
going to have to regardless. But I think just like Levi Wallace, I think we have to put some respect on Dane Jackson's name in terms of what the team believes that he can be and do. Right.
I don't disagree, but it's Dane Jackson and.
Right. And when Trey went down, it was Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace.
Right.
And look at where they got. And that's not the reason why they lost the game. It was because they had no pass rush.
Well, they
had no pass rush.
So time out. So the problem is we want to advance that game. I was there. We want to advance that game to 13 seconds, and that's why we lost the game. Or we want to advance that game to the second to last drive, or we want to.
If you had a pass rush, it wouldn't have got to that point. Correct.
Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace did what's the word? They did well.
Exactly what they all they could have done.
They did well for what they were asked to do. However, they weren't necessarily the reason that the Bills lost that football game. So I agree. And this is a fun conversation to have. And it's going to lead into something. So everybody stick around. I just don't understand how, man, to me, the Bills draft a first round corner and they pick up a 1-year guy, a flyer on Hayden or a flyer on AJ Bouye. To me, that's the play. I don't know that, that's just too big of a risk. The Bills have played and it's not unlike them. The Bills have gone chips in the middle of the table with guys like Brian Winters and failed miserably, but it didn't hurt in the win-loss column. And you know what I'm talking about. So I would say that it's not outside the potential for the Bills to do this and then be like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? On the backside of it. So these are our guys. They come to work and they practice and they work really hard and we trust them. And then they can't play. That's the Brian Winters story.
But I think there are guys at cornerback that you can get mid to late rounds. Again, when we're talking about in this draft class, we're talking about the top 2 guys. I think there's a tier. There's a fall off. Okay, you got Kyrie Elam in that second tier, and some of these other guys, Andrew Booth and so forth. But
right.
A lot of these guys are kind of in the same realm, right? So I think we have to consider the value here, right? And let's say the Bills signed Joe Hayden. What's his contract going to be? 1 year, $5 million, $6 million.
I can't imagine at this stage.
That's
probably
two,
2.5, maybe.
Shit, no. I
gotta be.
Nah, I think what they pay Josh Norman 1 year, $6 million. He's washed.
Josh Norman, you're saying?
Yeah, he's washed.
Yeah, but
so I think the going rate for a guy like Joe Hayden,
I can tell you,
it's $4 to $6 million.
It's got to be
4 to $6 million.
It's got to be in spot track, right?
Probably.
I'm looking right now. Keep going. Keep talking.
So you let's say you get a Joe Hayden, and then you go get a mid-round guy, right? Trey White gets healthy, and then what that $4 million you invested in because you like Dane Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
What is he gonna do? What is he gonna do? Is just ride the pine?
Who's that? Dane Jackson?
No, Dane Jackson is starting.
Okay, so then more. I mean, potentially, yeah. To the super chat comment that we had earlier, I mean, there's a chance that he would start. And there are not Spot Track does not have an expected deal what it would be worth. So he's coming off of a relatively big deal. It looks like he's coming off a big deal. 3 years, $27 million from the Steelers, but that's also coming off the Browns, where he was an absolute monster on the Browns, and I would say he was not a monster with the Steelers.
So I think getting a guy like Joe Hayden, I mean, I'm not pumped about it.
Right.
But he can play a zone boundary corner. He can do that. He can do that, and he could be your Levi Wallace.
Agreed.
So I just don't think the Bills view corner as I think they believe in having one really good corner, like an elite corner in Tre'Davious White, but I just don't see the value for them in taking a corner right now. when
Yeah,
when you can get them at cost controlled, right?
So I'm going to jump to my sister's comment after Daniel Gaurice's. By the way, welcome to everybody that's in the chat. I didn't welcome anybody. Welcome Don. Welcome Richard. Welcome Daniel. Jamie's in the chat. Everybody that's in the chat. But we'd be stacked once Trey gets healthy, is what Daniel says, and he's not wrong. And I think part of what you have to look at with this football team is it hasn't been the offense's problem. Like the problem that we've been having isn't the offense not scoring enough points. The problem is the defense hasn't been doing its job when it's needed to, right? So specifically in the playoffs. But this is my sister Jamie. What do you guys think about all the rumors going around that we are losing Poyer? Is it simply overreaction? Nice little plug there, or more? So and you can talk if you want to tackle this after I say something. Losing him is a weird word. So when his contract is up after this season, might he go to another team? Yes. Are the Bills going to try to re-sign him? I think so. Could he possibly price him out from where the Bills want to be? Price himself out from where the Bills want to be? Yes. What do you think?
He's never had a sizable contract, and he knows that. His agent knows that, and I think he wants to get paid. He's 31 years old.
Yeah.
So I just don't see them. I don't see them getting it done. I mean, how old do you want your secondary to be?
And is he the man? It's tough too because you go back and forth, right? So who's the captain of that secondary? Is it Micah Hyde or is it Jordan Poyer? It's Micah, right?
Right, but they're both they're like
right. It's just like Milano and Edmonds. Everybody talks about Edmonds being an inside linebacker, and it's like we need to get a new inside linebacker. He's like, well, first of all, he doesn't play inside linebacker.
Right.
Why don't we move Milano to inside? Well, they play the same game. They do the exact same thing on defense. They're not different players. So I don't know what are we talking about? But yeah, so and I think that Hyde and Poyer are pretty much similar. They play very similarly, but Hyde is, I think, the guy. If you're going to keep one of them, you keep Hyde, right? And Hyde's not exactly a spring chicken either. Yeah. I don't have an answer. I would expect both of them to not be on this football team at some point in the very near future. 2-3 years, right?
Right. I think that's reasonable. I think they're going to try to keep the band together as long as they can, but the reality is when you pay Josh Allen what you're paying him, although when these other quarterback deals are going to come out, the Bills are going to be looking pretty. But until then, I mean, you are paying him a sizable contract and add Von Miller to that, and there you go.
Until Josh Allen says, hey, Brandon, I know we're boys. So you're Brandon in this instance. I'm Josh. Brandon, I know we're boys, and I love Buffalo, and I know that you love me, and I love you. But that clown is getting paid a lot more money than I am, and I'm the best quarterback in the league. Like, this is a problem, right?
Yeah, and he's gonna say, "I need another pistachio farm."
So. Right, and that's the moment the Bills Mafia begins to turn on him, right? Because that's what we do.
Nope. Not Josh Allen. Not Josh Allen.
Dude, we were a breath away from it happening to Stephon Diggs. A breath. Dude, the 2 days
apples
before
oranges.
The 2 days before Diggs signed his extension, it began to happen on Twitter where people are like, I'm not so sure that we need Stephon Diggs. For sure.
But I guarantee you won't find many people say that about Josh Allen just because do you really want to go through quarterback purgatory for another 17 years? I don't think so. It's like once you taste what it's like to have an elite quarterback, you don't want to go back.
Right. It's this is definitely a weird feeling. It's been the off season of Josh Allen. This entire off season, it's been Josh Allen's off season. So every show, every program, every commercial, advertising, whatever it's been weird to be in this. Today, I was watching the draft stuff on NFL Network, and they were promoting like the players being at the draft, and sure enough, there's a picture of Josh Allen, like as he was walking up like to the draft in 2018, not taking the stage, but like before the draft, like walking the red carpet. I'm like, this is crazy. This is so weird. This dude is becoming the face of the NFL. Let's move on. So I want to talk about the draft, and we're going to talk about the draft, and this is fun because you and I did not discuss necessarily anything before this, so this is all going to be fresh. So we're going to get to have a good conversation. The 3 positions of need, and I'm going to base mine off of what I thought. And it's funny because I feel like I could change Sunday. So Sunday I said the 3 primary positions of need for the Buffalo Bills are cornerback, inside offensive line, guard, center. And then I said wide receiver. However, I caveated that on Sunday on the Overreaction Show with the fact that I don't believe for 1 second the Bills are going to take a wide receiver in the first round. I just don't believe it, mainly because as much as this is a deep wide receiver draft, it's not a great wide receiver draft. A lot of people have come out. You might agree that the best wide receiver in this class wouldn't break the top 3 in 2019 and 2020, right? No, 2020, 2021, as far as those receiver classes. So I almost would change to corner, inside offensive line, interior offensive line, and linebacker for my 3 top positions of need. What are yours? What do you feel like the top 3 are? Why are you laughing?
I think it's corner, interior offensive line, and I'm going to say defensive end.
Really?
I still
Epinesa,
think
Boogie.
we don't know
Rousseau?
about Epinesa or Boogie Basham. I think you got a guy. We got Rousseau, but I can't depend on Vaughn for the future. He's a stopgap defensive end. He's going to be great, but we cannot depend on him long term. And I think this is the place where you take a guy with upside that you can groom. They're all about that.
The best thing I've heard about Von Miller, and I want you to respond to this, and I don't for the life of me remember who it was. It was a national guy that was questioning the Bills' move. What are the Bills doing giving Von Miller that contract with that much money? And the national guy, for the life of me, can't remember who it was, basically said they're not looking for Von Miller to get 10 sacks during the season. They're looking for Von Miller to show up in the playoffs and get 4 and basically become worth every penny that they pay him. So if you're looking for Von Miller in games 1 through 5 to be a stat monster, you're missing the reason that he's here. The reason he is here is to be that force in the playoffs, which that's what he does. When the playoffs come, he shows up. Not that he doesn't show up during the season, but they're expecting him to take over not take over. You know what I'm saying?
Like, no, you're right. They're expecting him to take over games. And I've had the privilege to watch Von Miller here in Denver for a long time. And he's a game closer. He's a game wrecker. But the cool thing about having a Von Miller is that you have Rousseau and you have Ed Oliver.
Right.
And you got Tim Settle. Right. So you got the interior of your defensive line sorted out.
Yes.
You got Rousseau. So basically,
Jordan Phillips. Energy.
So,
to me, Jordan Phillips is energy.
Right. So I think it's going to free up Vaughn to do what Vaughn does. And and by the way, you kind of have, if you leave Vaughn, one-on-one, it's over. It's over, right? So I think just the core talent that the Bills have on the defensive line right now, I think it accentuates his abilities. I think it's going to be great. He is going to be able to close out games. The reason why the Bills lost to the Chiefs is because we couldn't close it out from the defense.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row, defensive line, and you got to show up.
So for me, so I've got corner, interior offensive line, and I'm changing to linebacker, but it could be wide receiver as far as positions of need. You've got corner, interior offensive line, and you said edge rusher. So when we look at guys that are going to be there, we already talked about, so we'll talk about corners real quick, and you can jump in, like cut me off anytime you need to. So we know that Sauce Gardner is not making it past the Jets, whether he's drafted by the Houston Texans or the Jets. He's not getting past the Jets, period, end of story. So that's a name as much as it was funny. It was funny, dude, because Sunday I was talking about for 17 years, the Bills fans have gone into the draft kind of somewhat knowing what's going to happen because we watch enough football stuff to hear names like Sauce Gardner, and the Bills are drafting in the top 12. So we know we're looking at these guys that are good. Haloti Nada, right? Guys like that. The last several years, we're drafting so low. It's like, I don't know who any of these players are. All the good guys are gone. So that's why we're doing this exercise. So Sauce Gardner is going to be gone before 4. Derek Stingley is going to be gone before 9, right? Would you agree?
Probably. I'd say if we want to be safe, he doesn't make it past 15.
Right. He doesn't make it past 15. So I did a little research on mock drafts just from some professionals as far as people that do a lot of this mock draft stuff. So the names are Trent Duffy. Trent Duffy got drafted inside the 20, so like 20 twice on mock drafts. Top 25 before the Bills once, and one person had Trent Duffy linked to the Bills. Andrew Booth twice, top 20, once top 25 before the Bills, linked to the Bills once. I have Kaiir Elam not on any mock draft. I saw one today that it was an NFL Network. It wasn't Davis. It was somebody else. It wasn't Charles Davis. It was somebody else that had Kaiir Elam going to the Bills at 25. And then the last one I've got is Kyler Gordon, who I think is also linked to the Bills at 25. I'm all over Andrew Booth Jr.
I love him.
And everything I've read, especially about him, length, fluidity, long speed, tackling. He's a complete cornerback. He can play in every scheme. He sounds like a guy that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott would put in their, like, that's the guy. That's our dude. To me, that's the guy. If there's a guy that I think the Bills target in this draft, maybe even move up potentially for, it's him. It's interesting to me that you don't think that they're going to go corner.
I just do. I think they need to get yeah, absolutely. But I just don't think Beane's going to do it. If I had to put a finger on it, I think he goes running back. I think they take running back. Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is the pick tomorrow. That's not my pick, but I think that's the pick.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's not my pick either. But if they take Breece Hall,
I'm good with it.
I'm going to lose my mind in a very happy fashion.
I love running backs.
You know what's funny? You've told me the story. I don't remember when you became a Bills fan. Tell me what year was it when you became a Bills fan?
89.
89. Okay. So you're right in that thing. It's weird how history repeats itself. When you just look at the quarterback coming in the way he did, going to an AFC championship game, getting bounced, going to an AFC divisional game, getting bounced, then the Bills draft Thurman Thomas. Like, if the Bills draft right when the receiver came in, when the certain player, and then if the Bills draft a running back, it's just weird how sometimes history just kind of, not intentionally, the Bills aren't setting this up like, oh, I'm reading the script and now they drafted Thurman Thomas, well, we're going to draft Breece Hall. It's just, I will be elated if they draft Breece Hall. Do I think it's smart? I don't know.
I think it's smart. I really do. I think it's smart.
Talk about it.
Listen, with the first round player, you get 5 years.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Let's just say he's good. You have a controlled contract at a running back, a really good position. He's gonna eat up light boxes. He can catch the ball in the backfield, and he has breakaway speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are some of his calling card traits, right?
Right.
What did Brandon Beane say in the offseason? He goes, "We want to protect Josh Allen."
Yes.
What are some of the ways you protect Josh Allen? Well, you get better on the offensive line. I think the Bills, Roger Saffold, I think they made some moves on the offensive line, right?
Yep.
I still think you could take an interior offensive lineman in this draft and be okay in the first round. But what about running back? We don't want Josh Allen having to run the ball all the time. Be the part of no. When the last time a defense coordinator had to go, Devin Singletary?
The reality is and I was on Griff's show, and I don't remember Griff's last name, but he's a Patriots fan, and I go on his show all the time. And I literally said on his show, there is a point, and I likened it back to Jim Kelly. There's a point where you've got to stop Josh Allen from taking hits, whether it's from running the ball or whatever. And the way you do that is by getting a solid running back that's a threat. Jim Kelly's career was shortened. His professional career, I think, was only 12 or 13 years long because of the time that he spent in the USFL when he got completely obliterated as a young man. He just got destroyed, getting sacked all the time. And it shortened his career as a Buffalo Bill. He could have played as long as Elway. He could have played as long as, some of those other guys, Marino, but he didn't because he was beat up. Same thing's going to happen. You're talking about that. You're talking about Allen. The way that you preserve Josh Allen is by allowing him to drop back and hand the ball off to somebody that's dominant and somebody that they have to game plan for. Or he drops back and throws the football. No more quarterback sweeps. None of that stuff. Yep.
I think that will always be a part of his game, but I need Josh Allen to be a point guard. I need you to distribute.
Right.
Lead and distribute.
And what's funny
occasionally you're going to hit your 20, 30-point game and 15 assists, right?
And what's funny is that changes the dynamic historically for who Josh Allen is. So it's the Steve Young mold. So Steve Young was always a running quarterback when he was young, but he became a distributor when he got to the 49ers.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden it was like Steve Young went from being, he's a really good quarterback that runs the ball, to he's one of the best quarterbacks that have ever played the game. Josh Allen, if he stays in this mold, is never going to be valued as one of the greatest passers ever until he kind of fits in that space, right?
Yeah, and I think he's already, making his way up the ranks in terms of being, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. The thing about Josh Allen is that's great is his frame. He's a thick
monster.
Individual, but there are other quarterbacks. Cam Newton, It's another guy. I'm not comparing the two in terms of play style. I think Josh Allen's far superior throw of the football.
I can give you a quote. I won't say the name, from a wide receiver of the Bills who literally said to me, Josh Allen is a monster. Like I can't believe. And this wide receiver isn't short. He's like, I cannot believe how big that guy is. Like, what, you don't realize it until you get next to him. And you're like, whoa, that's a big guy.
Josh Allen's man.
Dude. He's a big old boy.
So why not ride this out for 20 years, 15 years?
And how do you do that? You protect him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Offensive line. And a real running back, somebody that defensive coordinators have to. It's literally the situation. It's the Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation where the Bills, put the whatever the game was. It was the COVID year, and the Bills were like, "Well, we're going to stop Patrick Mahomes, and we're going to give him all the space for Clyde." And what did Clyde do? He destroyed us.
Absolutely.
And that's what has to happen, right? And I'm just not so sure, to your point, that Devin Singletary is going to be able to accomplish that. But names for tomorrow night at corner, I would love to see Andrew Booth Jr. I don't know that the Bills will do that.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you that I'm not sure the Bills will do it, because they've got Trey on the one side, and they might try to find a guy that can fit in, like they did with Levi and Dane. Ride it out until Trey gets back, and then they've got their number one guy back. However, the other piece to your puzzle was interior offensive line, which is big. So interior offensive line guys, as far as just draft wise, there's only really two names to really even consider. And just to set this up for everybody else. So you've got Roger Saffold at left guard. And that's what's funny too, is the amount of draft or NFL dudes, reporters, that don't realize that Saffold's playing left guard. Like, they don't realize that they've come out and been like, well, I've seen two people say that Saffold is a right guard. And it's like, no, he's already said he's playing left guard. So Ryan Bates, who has been given starting right guard money by matching that contract from the Chicago Bears by the Bills, is going to play right guard for at least some amount of time this year, at least. Roger is on a 1-year deal. Mitch Morse wants to retire a Buffalo Bill. This is what's interesting to me, Sterles. He's in one of his press conferences, or on an interview that he did. I came to the Bills, I did my extension, and I told them I can't wait to retire a Buffalo Bill. So there's either an agreement there, right, that the Bills are going to hang on to him as long as he wants to play, or when this contract's up, he might have told them, when my contract's done, I'm done. We know that he's got a history with concussions, right? What are you thinking? You're thinking something.
Oh, man.
I'll keep going, but there's something there. But the point is,
I don't know, man.
Is this an Eric Wood situation with Ryan Bates? Is this a situation where you draft a guard? You've got Morse, right? You've got Ryan Bates. Roger Saffold is here. So you ride out Morse's contract for whatever it is, a couple more years. And then when Morse retires, or they're done with Morse, and Morse is like, I want to retire a Buffalo Bill, and he retires, Bates moves to center. Saffold's gone, right? He's only going to be here for 1 year. You got the guy you drafted this year, and obviously you're going to have to find that new guy.
Right.
So they've got to need an interior offensive line.
They do.
Big time.
They have a big need. And just for just even depth purposes,
right.
I think it's
Bucker's back. Bucker's back, and Bucker can play.
But Kenny, though, I mean, it's like having those goggles on, man. When you're like seeing the same girls, like,
I'll take you back to 2020.
Long.
I'll take you back. I probably have clips on my computer of Brian Winters getting the entire right side of the offensive line completely collapsed by missing his block. So he's better than Brian Winters was. He's better than Vlad Ducasse was.
I'm better than Brian Winters was. Okay.
Wait a minute. Time out. I think you're better than Bobby Hart. I don't know if you're better than Brian Winters.
Hey, lace him up, baby.
And I can attest that Sterles is no small young man. He's a relatively large guy. So of the guys that are available, Tyler Lindenbaum was basically taken, top 25 once. I haven't heard his name much. What do you know about Tyler? I don't know much about him.
I think he's a guy. The thing about Tyler Lindenbaum is that his measurables don't say, ooh, like, you don't get excited about him. He's short, he's slender, slim, but he's just an animal. He's one of those guys. His effort, has a tremendous ability, But take a page out of Joe Marino's book. You just don't know. Like, you kind of need your offensive lineman to look a certain type of way. He's an outlier for him to come in and produce at a high level.
Right.
The NFL just hasn't seen a guy like him, so they're going to be a little bit cautious. I still think he has first round ability, but I honestly think he slides into the second round. There's every single year, it seems like there's always offensive line talent.
Oh yeah,
that seems to slide out of the first round that ends up in the second round. Hence, not tackles, but guards.
Yeah,
guard centers seem to slide out of the first round. And so
for sure,
I think that's going to be no difference tomorrow with Linderbaum.
So the next guy widely viewed as the best guard in the draft, Zion Johnson, 6'2", 314 guard, consistent, efficient. His pass protection, he needs a little bit of work in pass protection and in his quickness. I've seen him in mocks taken top 20 twice, top 25 before the Bills pick 3 times, and after the Bills pick once. What is your kind of impression of him?
Man, I love Zion Johnson. And Zion Johnson is the kind of guy that you look and you go, are you a Philadelphia Eagle? Doesn't he have that kind of Philadelphia Eagle kind of just like, you're an Eagle, right? So, yeah. I think he has a narrow build, but, I think he handles interior pressure very well. He can his ability to move laterally, I think is really good. He's just a really good offensive guard, and he's a behemoth of a man. I mean, the guy is 6'3", 312. He's a solid rock. So I think he's definitely going to go round 1. In my mock, I have him going to the Eagles. Yeah, nice. And I have Jordan Davis going to the Ravens.
Yeah.
He just looks like a Raven. Last year I said Mac Jones going to the Patriots. I even have the Twitter receipts to prove it. And lo and behold, he went to the damn Patriots.
He went to the Patriots. That's amazing. The next guy is the guy that I like, Kenyon Green. So Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M, 6'3", 323, guard or tackle, more than likely translates to guard in the NFL. Flexible, versatile. He went top 25 before the Bills, so like 24 once, and then generally speaking, he went after the Bills in every mock that I saw. To me, I think I'm dollars to donuts. It's one for every Buffalo Bills fan listening that is not a draft Nick, which I am not. It's one of 3 players first at 25. If the Bills stay at 25, it's either Breece Hall, right? That's what everybody thinks. Andrew Booth Jr. or Kenyon Green, and that was the name that I blanked on earlier.
See, and I hate that because that's what gets us. See, this is you're repeating history, Joe. That's the same thing that got us in this place last year. Even though, like, I'm no draft Nick.
I'm not.
I spent a lot of time.
I've never done a mock. I've never done a single mock draft.
I spent a lot of time, doing my best to find out as much about these prospects as I possibly can.
Right.
And you hurt your own feelings if you get into this idea that there's 3 people that the Bills are going to pick at 25.
One of those 3 is going to be there. One of those 3 is going to be there.
But that doesn't mean they're going to pick them. How many people said Gregory Rousseau and Carlos Basham is picks 1 and 2 for the Buffalo Bills? Nobody.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I just think the way Brandon Beane, the way he thinks in terms of his draft. Now we knew, I take that back. We did not know that he was going to take Josh Allen. We did not know he was going to take Tremaine Edmonds. We did not. McDermott was a caller for the Tre'Davious White thing, but how many Brandon Beane picks outside of Ed Oliver in the first round that we go, you know what? They picked the guy I wanted. Because that was a guy like Ed Oliver is like, yes, I want him. They need him.
Probably Trey, but Bean wasn't here for Trey. So probably Trey, right? We didn't have a pick the Epinesa year, right? So we didn't have a
right.
one.
And I did not like the Epinesa pick. Still don't.
I don't know that I could answer that question.
And that's the point, right? That's the point.
But this team, but I agree with you. So I'm not disagreeing. So when I say, oh man, the problem is it comes down to BPA. And this is the hard part because everybody everybody ranks players differently. And the way that their boards rank out and the way that their boards filter out are different. And there is a weight, as much as it's like we had the luxury. We talked about it last year. We had the luxury of drafting best player available. Well, I call bullshit, because if the quarterback is the best ranked BPA player on their draft board left in the first round, they're not drafting a quarterback in round 1. It's not happening.
Right.
So there's positions where we don't need a first rounder.
Right.
All that to say this. For me, as much as it's a crapshoot, as much as you don't know, there are 2 glaring holes on this football team: cornerback, inside offensive line, and then an amazing, holy crap, we really need that. It's not a glaring hole, but it's a holy crap. What would that guy do for us? Travis Etienne, right? Last year, this year, Breece Hall. For me, one of those 3 guys is going to be there, if not 2 of those 3 guys. And who else is going? Who do you see being there available in front of those guys that they're not going to, that they would take over them?
Ah, man. I wish I had an answer. I don't look, man. This is like Christmas for me. Like, I literally am gonna have a hard time going to sleep. That's why I'm drinking this beer. I'm drinking this Dry Dock Apricot Blonde to put my ass to sleep later. Okay, I'm gonna have to take some Unisom and some other over-the-counter drugs so that I can sleep a good night's sleep tonight. And then I'm gonna be so worthless at work tomorrow. So worthless. Like, I'm gonna be like a kid. Like, and I have to wait until 9 o'clock Mountain Time for the Bills to pick their guy. 9:30.
So you and I both work from home now. Do you have one of these above your workstation too?
Oh, dude, I have one right here. I have a TV right here.
Yep.
I have a 32. Wait, is that a 40-inch TV right here? Yeah.
Been locked in on the NFL Network for days.
But my work is hybrid. So I work in the office. I work at home. And so, man, well, I don't know, dude.
So getting back to it, as far as just the draft goes. So I'm going to omit wide receiver completely. So you're talking about edge. So why don't you talk about some names at edge that could possibly be there, that the Bills fans, if they hear that name, they're going to be like, they're not going to be like, who? Like we were last year, but they'll be like, oh, I remember Stroll's talking about that guy.
So, okay. So now again, this is, don't hold me to the fire in this. Okay. I think your edge rushers are going to be their primary edge rushers are going to be gone before the Bills pick. But I think Ojabo, there's a chance that Ojabo will be there. I think he's the best value and long-term pick.
I hate that word.
If they were to go right, but it's true though, and that's how the Bills think about stuff. That's how they think about it. You know what I'm saying? They do. Now, last year last year was different because they had a immediate need at defensive end. Right. And that's one of those positions. Think about it. You're not going to be able to pay or go out and get a free agent defensive end that you want to pay, right? Like that in free agency, because they could have got Trey Hendrickson and so forth. They didn't want to do that. Right. They'd rather draft and develop and go and move forward. So I just think that, I think defensive end, offensive tackle, like going through the positions that I think the Bills value the most outside of quarterback, obviously, right? I think it's your defensive ends. I think it's your offensive tackles, right? Safety. They're very traditional safety, right? Corner,
linebacker, more than likely linebacker,
corner. I would say corner over linebacker, but linebacker is up there. So I think I think we have to try to put yourself in what the Bills have done and what the Carolina Panthers did years before they became Buffalo Bills. And this is the kind of positional value or that they held on some of these positions, right? So I think defensive end is very high on their board. In my opinion, based off of what the research that I've done and what I see, I think defensive end is high on their board. And there's a guy there that they can get that, like a Ojabo, that's top 10 ability. I think you take him. The Bills did it. Now, this is unrelated to the current regime, but they took a Willis McGahee.
I remember
when taking a running back was okay in the first round. Right. They took Willis McGahee, and they took CJ Spiller when they had Marshawn and Freddie.
Fred Jackson. They took Willis McGahee in the first round, knowing he couldn't play the next year.
Right.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills have been strange at the running back position. Here we go. We got a whole bunch of
it right now.
Thank you.
Get the hell out of here, dude. Get that mess out of here. Like,
Yikes.
Get a life. Get a freaking life.
I had a bunch of Russian bots for a little while, but before we get out of here, like the two of us, talk to me, if you will, about Kaiir Elam, who has been linked to the Bills, and I don't know much about him. It's funny because I see more. The last couple weeks, I haven't seen him linked to the Bills as much as I have the last 2 days. So talk to me about Kaiir Elam.
I like Kaiir Elam, man. One of the things I like about him that I don't think gets talked about much is that he was a former wide receiver.
Really?
And yeah, not in college, but in high school. He was a former wide receiver, so he has really good ball skills. And I think one of the things that what's his name? Levi Wallace, I think he had decent to good ball skills, right? Trey White doesn't have great ball skills, like in terms of like committing turnovers, turning interceptions.
Wait. You said Levi Wallace. Levi Wallace does not have good ball skills.
Yes, he does.
Levi Wallace is the guy that frequently missed the block of the pass coming in.
Dude,
the Browns game in 19, we lost that game because he didn't block that pass. There was a game in 20 he missed because he didn't block. Levi Wallace was coached to keep everything in front of him. Let him catch the ball, you tackle him.
Dude, I think when he had opportunities to pick off a ball, I think he did a good job. He doesn't have elite ball skills.
Did he drop the ball? I guess we might be
Trey White drops interceptions.
Wait, we're weighing it differently. I'm not talking about if the ball hits him in the chest, does he catch it? I'm talking about, does he make a play and actually aggressively make a play on the football? He does not do that.
I am talking about catching the football.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, different. I agree with you then.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, I agree.
I think a guy like Kaiir Elam, he does that very well. He does that very well. I think he has length, athleticism. I think he has physicality, and I think he could play press man, but also play in a zone scheme. I think he can do both of those, right? So I think he has really good speed. I just think, man coverage is probably where he really excels. I think he does a really good job in man coverage. And I think what I like about his game is that he's aggressive. I like the fact that he's aggressive. I think as a cornerback, you need to be aggressive. I
agree. That was what drove me the most crazy about Levi Wallace and what I liked about Dane Jackson. Dane Jackson flashed on the field because he was aggressive.
Yeah.
Or is. He's not dead. He's still a Buffalo Bill. He is aggressive, whereas Levi generally was not. What do you got? Before we get out of here, do you any topics you want to hit? Anything you want to pick my brain about?
All right. So
he said all right.
Okay, so this is what you're gonna do. And in the chat, if you guys can do this too, you don't have to give me a player, but if you had to go position of draft for the Bills in rounds 1, 2, and 3, what is that for you?
1, 2. It's definitely so that expands differently for me, right? So positions in the draft 1, 2, and 3. Everybody should be doing that in the comment section as well. So for me, corner is still there. Interior
corner round 1.
Well,
I want round 1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3 for me.
Yep.
See, this is where trades come in because I would love to see. So I've been a huge proponent. We've talked a lot on this show, and I know you haven't seen it because you've been doing your own thing. Spence and I have talked a lot about the fact that the Bills have 8 picks. You know that, right?
Correct.
8 of those dudes are not making this football team. There are not 8 draft picks making this football. They had 6 or 7 last year, and I think only 4 made the team. Only 4 are making this team. I would love to see the Bills maneuver to a point where they maximize their picks down to 4. So minimize and maximize their picks at the same time. So I would love to see them make a lot of moves. I'd like to see corner in 1, interior offensive line early in 2, and probably wide receiver after that.
Now, if you hit on your picks, you can have more than 4 players stay on your roster.
But you got to define hit on your picks. I mean, rookies aren't going to get that much opportunity.
He's too good that you can't let him go.
But how do you with a roster this deep outside of those couple positions, how do you see that? Because you got to figure
start. They don't have to start.
Yeah, but they're going to get plucked off the practice squad. Now you're drafting for other teams. Is all you're doing.
Or they could be number, depth,
Versus,
like number
versus
2.
maximizing the opportunity for
I'm
those
just saying,
picks.
I just get a little like, because, man, we just don't know. I think you could get 5 guys. Possibly that I think 5 is a magic number. I think
So who's getting
5 guys.
So you're cutting guys like Epinesa.
Okay, I'm not cutting Epinesa, but I
Who are
trade
you
his
cutting?
ass. I would trade his ass in 2 seconds. If I was Brandon Bean, that boy would have been gone already.
Are you cutting Shaq Lawson? Who are you cutting on this?
You're talking about Shaq Lawson like he's just a guy, like he's just a contributor, that he's gonna just get. Shaq Lawson ain't.
Time out. So Shaq Lawson left the Buffalo Bills and then became a Jag.
And did nothing.
Legit. So there's no guarantee that when he comes back to Buffalo, he's going to be this, whatever he was before. Now, they obviously know how to scheme him. So that's a big part of who he is. So scheming him properly will be important. However, if you're saying that 8 guys or 5 guys or 6 guys can make this team, who's getting cut from depth?
I don't know, man. I think offensive line. There's look, if you take the right guys, I think there's moves to be made, and interior wise, right?
Well, you're not taking 4 offensive linemen.
No, obviously not. But I think a wide receiver. I think a wide receiver, a guy can make the team. Offensive guard, a guy can make.
Well, hang on a second. So let's talk about wide receiver. This is a fun exercise. So Stephon Diggs, right?
Yep.
Gabriel Davis.
Yep.
Jamison Crowder.
Yep.
Isaiah McKenzie, who's more of a gadget guy. He's not the 4th.
That's the one.
You think that guy can go?
He could possibly get cut. Like, it's not a foregone conclusion.
We said that last year,
but they didn't have anybody to. Marquez Stevenson didn't do nothing.
I don't know that Marquez Stevenson couldn't have done what he did. Like, I think he maybe could have. Marquez Stevenson.
I just think we get married to these guys.
I don't disagree. I agree with that 100%. Marquez Stevenson last year put himself in a position through preseason where the Bills couldn't cut him. They put him on injury reserve because they couldn't cut him. Both in kick returns and in receiving. He was like, you can't cut me. And they were like, you're right, we can't. You're going to IR on a fake injury. The Buffalo Bills are playing the New England injury game big time, by the way, if anybody hasn't noticed. They've got injured guys that aren't injured, and they've got uninjured guys that are. Like, they're playing the game big time.
Right.
Beasley having broken ribs in the playoffs, not even on the injury report, right?
I just think a wide receiver can make this team.
Zach Moss having a gigantic foot injury, a bad one, and not even on the injury report. So, yeah. Running back
has nothing to do. Don't you?
No. I'm just talking about guys being injured that aren't on their injury report. Running back might be a spot.
Yeah, running back is a spot. Wide receiver is a spot. Interior offensive line is a spot. Cornerback is a spot.
What corners are you talking? So you're talking about losing one of those corners?
Well, you can't field a team because you don't have any. Look, Dane Jackson, as much as we like, the team likes him, so I think he's gonna stay. But Cam Lewis, come on, like Cam Lewis, like really? We're gonna Cam Lewis? And you got Trey Davis White on the pup for 6 weeks.
It's longer than that.
I'm just saying.
I bet Trey's and I bet I would put money on Trey not being back to normal until either Thanksgiving or right before.
He probably won't be back to normal till the next season. Let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, that's worst case scenario, right?
Right. So what do you have? What did you say? What your positions were for first 3 rounds?
I did not. That's why I asked you. And in the chat. So I think I'm just gonna stick to my guns. I think defensive end, wide receiver.
Wide receiver is such a
cornerback.
Wide receiver is such a weird position to me. And what's funny is I get pushed back all the time because of my relationship with Isaiah Hodgins, and it's still it's the reality is we still have not discovered what is there.
No offense to him, and please, if he could, I just don't.
You don't know. You don't know. You've never seen him. You've never seen him catch a football.
Excuse me?
As a Bill. You've never seen him catch a football as a Bill.
No one's ever seen him catch a football as a Bill.
Right.
I think I would love for him to be a contributor. I just don't see it. And I can say that I don't have a relationship with him. You do.
Right. And it doesn't cloud. I mean, clearly, I'm rooting for him, but I'm not, there's no expectations that I have for him.
But I understand where you're coming from. Like when you know these guys personally, it's like, man, you want to see him succeed.
But it's more about the noise. It's more about the noise from the media. It's more about the noise from Josh Allen and the coaching staff the year that he got drafted, when they said that the guy that's really good is this Hodgins kid. They weren't talking about Gabriel Davis. They were talking about this Hodgins. And I know this for a fact about our offensive line, or our offense rather, and it's going to come into play when it as it pertains to just maneuvers and who stays and who goes. I know for a fact this is an incredibly complex offense. And the guys the Bills value highly are the guys beyond Stephon Diggs, are the guys that know all the positions. There are guys on this offense from a wide receiver standpoint that only know their position, whereas there's other guys that know all the positions. They've studied, they've done the work. They can play. You can plug me in anywhere, and I can play any position. Does that make sense?
Where that doesn't work though.
What's that?
Because that was Brian Dable. How do we know Ken Dorsey's going to adhere to the same philosophy?
Well, we absolutely don't. You're right, but I mean, he might run two tight end sets and throw the ball to tight ends.
Right. We just don't know.
I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, just to see what his fingerprint is. All right, we got to get up on it here. Final thoughts?
Christian Watson's going in the first round.
Christian Watson is going in the first round.
First round.
Where? Top third, middle third?
Kansas City. Yeah, I think they either go Pickens or Christian Watson, one of their picks.
Gotcha. And if you had is your dream pick Breece Hall?
Hell no.
No. What's your dream pick for the Bills?
Ojabo. That's my guy. Ojabo.
The blue, right?
Yeah. They're my guys. Yeah. My dream would be the sauce. Give me sauce all day, baby. Sauce.
There's no way
Stingley. Give me one of them.
There's no way
Kyle Hamilton.
There's no way they could leverage to get that high. But yeah.
There's a way. There's always
to get to 4 or 3.
Well, not that high, but Stingley, Hamilton.
Yeah.
There's ways you can make that happen.
Last question for you. How upset are you that you were not in Vegas right now?
Why you gotta do that?
Because I wish I was there too. I'm so pissed.
Actually, I'm good right here. Let me tell you why I'm happy about it, because tomorrow is take your kid to work day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I know that the draft is going to be here, and I'll be going.
Wait, you work from home. You're taking your son home.
No. I'm hybrid, so I can work from home or in the office. I like to work from the office, but so tomorrow is take your kid to work day. So I'm taking my guy with me. He's going to see what dad does, and he could be a nerd with me. I'm going to make him clean. I'm going to make him do stuff and play with some servers, a little VM or whatever. But yeah, so it's going to be a good day.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I wish I was in Vegas, but it's twofold. I love Vegas, first of all. Like, I love Las Vegas, but yeah, to be there for the draft, it's going to be pretty incredible. But ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Rumblings Vodcast Network. I'm your host of the Hump Day Hotline. My name is Joe Miller, and a special guest host tonight, Sterling Furrowh, who is also a brand new contributor for Buffalo Rumblings. He has made the jump from Cover One over to Buffalo Rumblings. Thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. Love being a part of the team, bro. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Jay Spence, just to reiterate, because I know a bunch of you weren't here when we started, is on assignment. He is actually covering the draft for SB Nation for Buffalo Rumblings. So he should be in Vegas already. He's probably getting his rental car or something like that. But super glad that you guys joined us. Look, our hope was that you would be somewhat equipped to know some of the names that are going to be around when the Bills pick, not the top 10 names, but the bottom 10 names. Hopefully we've accomplished that and had a good time talking, which I had fun. Sterling,
absolutely, man. More to come.
But for myself, for Sterling Furrowh, for Jay Spence the King, for all of Buffalo Rumblings, I don't know if there's going to be any type of special shows tomorrow. There might be. Sterling is now here, and he could cook something up for tomorrow. When does your show start, by the way?
So it's gonna. Well, hopefully we kick it off. I'm probably just gonna kick it off on Sunday, obviously. And we don't. I don't have all the bells and whistles kind of attached to it. Logos. We're still working on all that, but I might just come in here and just recap the draft.
Oh, that'd be good.
So yeah, probably 9:30 Mountain Time.
Mountain Time. So it's 11:30
So, but
Eastern Standard.
we'll announce it. We'll get it pushed out. But yeah, absolutely. Be sure to come back on Sunday. We're gonna recap this draft and talk about. It's gonna be great that we can actually like open the presents and like really get into this thing. So you'll tune in with me on Sunday, man, and we're gonna keep it popping.
Awesome. Joe Miller, Sterling Furrowh, go Bills.
Go Bills.